Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Lethal Sales. So happy you are here tonight. Our topic is once you recruit for your dealership, how do you retain those employees since it's incredibly expensive to onboard them and to keep them? And Larry, I think you might be the expert on this one.
Yep, no
Well,
doubt.
listen, expensive is a relative term. I mean, since you're paying me to do it, I'm not that offended. Listen, I just taught multiple classes, and I always love to ask, when do you think the closing of a deal starts? And of course, the popular conception is you screwed up the deal, the guy's unhappy, then the manager comes in. And I explained that it actually starts when you say, welcome to whatever dealership it is. I'm Larry Feldman. It's the same thing with onboarding. If you don't get the thing started properly, if you don't make people feel comfortable, if you don't make them comfortable with everything from their passwords to what their duties are, what's expected of them, if you're not encouraging and nourishing people from the beginning, you're going to have a problem. Because I think we'll all agree we love this business. As crazy as it is, we enjoy the unpredictability, the unlimited amount of money you can make, the fun you can have. But look at the turnover and the churn. It shouldn't be that way. And I think it's probably because, and Peter can add a lot to this because he's very friendly with guys like Zach McVicker on Onboarding. I think we don't start it properly. And I think we'll all agree when things don't start well, they usually don't end well. Peter, do you agree with me?
Oh, 100%. And this is probably one of my favorite topics in this industry. Last year I wrote a 11-part series article on it dictating exactly what you just said. What is the challenges that we face? What are the costs? And why don't we change them? And the very first thing is the turnover in a dealership, invariable, at a good dealership, a good one, not a bad one, but a good one, is 70%. 70% of your variable employees will be gone at the end of this year. It's like the age old movie that says look to your left, look to your right, the person on either side of you will not be here at the end of this training. They won't be here. It's greater than that in variable. So at a 70% turnover, the average dealership has ten salespeople across the United States. That's the average. So 77 people out of every single dealership across the United States, 70%, it's gone. What's the cost? The cost, oh, well, we'll just get a guy like Larry in, and Larry will bring 20 new people, and we'll fill those spots. It'll cost me a couple $100, $1,000 a person. Great, no problem. Well, the challenge with that is that's not true. That's fictitious. That's absolutely fictitious. To replace a salesperson in a dealership that has been there for a period of 1 year is $119,000. Now, if I was to say that to any dealer principal, they'd call me as crazy as, I'm not even going to say it. There's lots of crazy people out there. But there, it would be, they'd be calling up an ambulance to take me away to a special hospital with very soft walls. Because how can you justify $119,000? Well, you can. Loss of production, training time, manager's time, mentorship, costs of advertising, costs of hiring guys like Larry.
Customers that get lost in the switches. Hey, Peter,
Yeah,
let me
everything.
throw an idea at you while you're and everything you're saying is making complete sense. You know what I think we also have to look into, and I mean this sincerely, the effects and costs of cynicism. Because so many managers have in their mind, yeah, your guys are great. I know most of them won't last. Well, maybe if you gave them the intentionality and made it clear that I'm going to help you last, maybe that would have a different effect. They don't, I mean, listen, half the marriages end in divorce, but it would probably be even larger if the priest or rabbi or whoever was doing the service said, well, I would say till death do you part, but you two don't look matched. I don't even think you're going to make it through the honeymoon. If the vibe you're giving off is you're probably not going to make it at this, and let me find every opportunity to upend you, let's go from there. Russell, Mike, Jeff, Jimmy, I'm not over dramatizing. Okay, did I miss anybody here? I don't want to leave anybody out
Me.
there. I feel good
You
about
forgot me.
my main man Gary and Michael Larkin. Listen, I'm not complaining. All right, I might have the biggest attitude of gratitude that anybody ever lived. I don't care what the hell's going on. I think I'm breathing. My parts are working. I'm going to have fun. Right, Peter? You've been around me enough to know, Rhonda, you just don't catch me in a bad mood. But I got to tell you, without complaining, just leaving a stated fact, most of the people I deal with, most, not all, but most, are so loose in the hiring process, so ragged as far as following up with the people, locking them in, making them feel great. This is not feed my ego. I'm just telling you the truth. I can't tell you how many people have said, Larry, I loved you. I loved the classes. I'm so motivated. It's unbelievable. But when I went to work at the dealership, the whole vibe was different. So while a lot of this, it's the old thing. The toughest thing is to look in the mirror to find who's really to blame. I think if dealerships approach this, I'm going to make it all work. Maybe it wouldn't all work, but I bet you'd get more people to stay. Michael Larkin, you want to know my big secret to success? I teach it,
Please.
but I convinced myself that every customer was a buyer, and that every customer back then it was $350 was costing me $350, and I'd never have enough. Now that's a severe mindset, but I just came off as funny and intense and real. So I mean, if I was like most car salespeople, Gary, you're going to laugh your butt off. I say it in every class. What do car salespeople talk about all day? It's not sex. It's not sports. It's that there's no business. And then when a car pulls up, they say, he don't look like a buyer. Send the rookie out. So the mindset of cynicism can destroy us. Once you infect yourself with it won't work. Why should I bother? You're dead. And most managers, they're not brilliant psychological masters. They put it out there really quickly. Yeah, I'm not so sure about you, right? I believe Shakespeare called it damning with faint praise. Saying, about time you did something right. Instead, I knew you had it in you, champ. So that's all. It's just very frustrating for me because I honestly try to build everybody as good a career as I can. I almost like it if they never let anybody go or anybody quit, and they just brought me back to training. But I just see a lot of cynicism, and I think that's a problem in the world, but I really think it's a problem. Russell Hill, everybody on this program, Gary Skill, Shearer, Jimmy, you don't have better programs than these guys have. How many times have you been ghosted after somebody called you and asked you to reach out? That's cynicism. That's all. Get off my damn soapbox.
Okay, so let me just continue on for one bit, and I do agree 100% that the cynicism in the dealership and the hypocrisy are just at an all-time high. 38% of people leave a job within the first year because they weren't onboarded correctly. How many times do we look at, and we've all worked, most of us have worked in a dealership except for you, Mike. I don't think you've ever worked in a physical dealership.
No, but he did run the Cynicism Institute, which I'm very grateful for. It's helped me buy my summer home. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So in saying that, how many times in working in a dealership that we hire a new person, and by the time of day one of them coming on board, so we hired them last week and they're starting on Friday or they're starting on Thursday, we don't have business cards for them. We don't have the IT department set up their station. We don't have anything involved. And why do we do it? Oh, we don't know if he's going to last or she's going to last. So why waste $100 on business cards? Because we don't know what message are we sending to that individual about their job right off the bat.
Peter, it's the classic trope where a guy like me who trains says, listen, let me come in and train your people. And they answer, well, what if you train them and they leave? And then, of course, the answer is, what if you don't train them and they stay? Go ahead, Peter.
60% based on the CDK insights of this year. 60% of dealership employees are under 3 years. Under 3 years. What's that say about what we're doing? So, and one of the things, if we look at $119,000, 7 salespeople, that's $890,000 in a year. That doesn't show up on your financial statement. That's what it's costing you. So if we take that and we were to take 25% of that and put that into an onboarding program, training program, coaching program, and financial stability program, we wouldn't lose 70% of our team. We would keep them. We would engage with them. We train them. We create greater opportunities for conversion of our own clients because they're not seeing the constant turnover. You walk, and I'm going to throw this at you, Mike. Mike, you walk into a local pizza place in Connecticut because you guys have the best pizza supposedly.
We do.
And it's in the water, obviously. You go into the local pizza place, and every day you go in there, and it's a new person in there. What do you think of the local pizza place?
As long as the pizza is good, I don't care.
Yeah,
that might have been a bad
have
analogy.
no
Michael
compunction.
No.
No, the bad
How about a new
example.
chef?
No, wait a minute.
I don't care.
I'm not being a smart aleck. All kidding aside, Peter, you're usually sharp as a tack, but that was a bad analogy. How about if you went into something? No, how about if you went into something? How about if you went back to a medical situation or something that involved where they were really involved in your life and you had explained it and they knew everything, and now all of a sudden you're talking to a stranger. I think that's the analogy, because when you get that involved with people, when you really, but it's like, Russell, you have a problem, Jimmy, you have a problem, and you call and you explain it for 20 minutes, and they put you on the phone with somebody else, and by the fourth time you've explained it for 20 minutes, you're ready to shoot somebody. So I think
no. I'm ready to shoot after the first one being transferred. The second one starting all over again. I'm done.
Well, you said you're very busy. You don't have time to be patient. You start shooting right away. I love it.
Yeah.
Jimmy Emmanuel,
Texas.
Me and Peter don't want to dominate too much, my brother, and you're not very cynical at all. What do you think, my friend?
I think a little bit is, being honest and upfront during the interview process too, right? I mean, you can get a candidate come in, and then next thing you know, you're walking into an environment that you had no interest of being part of, and it's not a right match. I think that's a
wait a
little
minute.
bit
Are
of
you
it.
talking about people not being honest with their culture? Because to be fair with dealers, I think that only happens on days of the week with the word day in it.
That's what I'm saying. We've all had opportunities where you were surprised that you go through the onboarding process and you're like, okay, and it's not anything like you thought it was supposed to be. It's or maybe you were even misled during the process. I don't know. I think it's more than it's not just always on the employee. A little bit of it is on the employer as well.
Well, then wait a minute. We got to jump, if you don't mind, to Gary Silman. For anybody that doesn't know, Gary Silman has spent about 40 years, I'm betraying his age, on working on integrity and F&I. If you lie to your customers, if you're not honest in F&I, forget about the exposure that you put yourself under that even Tom Klein couldn't help you with. You set yourself up to be wrong. Gary, you agree? If you're not honest, if you don't have integrity, you're not there. Well, I believe Russell just went to shoot somebody. They must have made him tell.
I heard him mumbling to himself, so he did. I don't know what happened. We lost him.
That tends to happen to people that hang around with me, Gary. You'll be doing it soon too.
Well, no, everybody is on the money. Everybody's talking about real sense, and here's the big disconnect. And we're going to say it live on TV. The dealer portrays a wonderful, happy environment online and gives the consumer false information because it doesn't match what their online marketing is when they walk into the showroom. There it is in a nutshell. In the 70s, when Chrysler and GM and all these guys, they had roads to the sale, processes. If you wanted to be a 5-star Chrysler dealer, you had to have all the processes in places. I thought that the processes were in place and you utilized them. So I did. But for some reason, 90% of the people, including the dealers, including their general managers, including their sales managers, don't think that that's important. And so they shot themselves in the foot. And now they got exactly what we've been predicting for 30 years. So now, what do they need to do? Who's the guy, Richard Branson, the guy who owns the airline?
Virgin Airline, Richard Branson. Yep.
Yeah. You take care of your people because your people are your point of sale to the community. So if they don't wake up, just sell because they're dealers. They sell iron. They need to take care of the community. How do they take care of the community? Who lives in the community? They're salespeople. The dealers that have embraced supporting their salespeople. That wasn't a training culture. That was a dealer embracing that he's going to take control or she's going to take control over their dealership, and they're not going to put up with this crap anymore. And that they're going to market cars that they have. They're going to utilize social media. These young men and women know how to use the cell phone. Well, give them the tools. You've got all these wonderful tools on your dealer website, but no one can use them. 20 years ago, the dealers were told to lock everything down. By who? The warranty companies, the insurance companies. And now that we can do it correctly, use it and go back to what we started. It's just use the damn technology and stop wasting everybody's time.
Thank
The
you.
consumer demands it. The consumer expects it. The salespeople need to be empowered, and the noise needs to stop. Bottom line, we're selling stuff. We want to make it easy. Use the technology to make it easy. AI takes emotion out of this industry. So when you got emotional people doing stupid things every day, that's when you want to incorporate AI. So I'm not off my pulpit. We've been trying to teach dealers how to do it correctly for 30 years, 40 years, and all they want to do is find reason to say that they don't want to do it. Well, why? You got fixed ops. You can't put a car in the service drive in any dealership without filling out a get ready. Why can you let a customer take a $60,000 car without verifying their insurance and their identity? You're too busy? No, you're too damn stupid.
Lazy.
So there's where we are. The industry is full of stupidity, and they've lost the culture of you're selling, so sell and make it easy. So they'll
Wait a
buy.
minute, Garen, and not only selling, but selling in a way that you want to get more deals, because we all know it's not about the deal; it's the deal. After Russell, you raised your hand.
Can you see my cell phone? Treat them right. They're your neighbors. They're eating at the same restaurant you're eating at. Their kids are on your kids' ballpark. You're a dealer. If your name's on that showroom, act that way. Stop letting sales managers. The F&I managers have license to steal in that F&I office, and they are stealing and they are doing bad things. Stop it. It's easy to stop it. I can do it in my sleep to stop it. End of story. Anybody that's doing business with me, anybody that sees anybody who's my partner, have been vetted. We do it right the first time, not the way that you've tried to do it for the last 30 years. It's broken. Stop doing it. So there's the rule of holes, right? By the way.
I freaking love it, man.
You sound like you had a point.
Well,
Build
my
your-
ADHD, it already slipped. Now I'm reverting back to the 38% of people are gone. I would put we believe so much in our onboarding process that I would put it against any Fortune 500 company. It is the Mac Daddy of Mac Daddies. We set people up for nothing but total success. The process that they go through, they're equipped, they're armed, they're trained, they know exactly what's going on and how to do things. And yeah, there's some maturing that goes on from there, ramp up time, but they know exactly what they're walking into. They've had all the interviews. They met with their prospective teams. They've gone through all kinds of training and questions and answers and these little tests and stuff like
They
that to
know
make
their
sure.
job.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
know their job.
right.
You taught them how to do
Yep,
that function,
yep.
and you created it because you're tired of explaining it to everybody. It's like, no, I had to build this so you utilize it so you
Mm-hmm.
can become successful.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. That's what smart people do.
Yep.
Thank you, Russell Hill.
No, absolutely. I really like. So I had a call today. I had a dealer in Boston, a 3-store dealer, and he canceled one of the stores. And so I know who their performance manager is, and I know what the process is. And so I reached out to him to, try to find out what happened. I always try to find the real reason, not just, we decided to move another direction. Well, with my product, I can call poop on poop because there is no other product like ours. There's no other direction to go except back to what you had, which is cost you more money. So anyway, I always like to find the root cause. And the owner is the only person I have the relationship with. We had a couple of challenges getting together to talk this through. Nissan, their store's bleeding. That's all. It's not a personal. He's keeping it at the other 2 stores. Everything's fine. And
That's
so
his tax write-off. That's his tax write-off.
yeah. So then I had a meeting today with he said, really, I talked if you wouldn't mind, Russell, talk to my service manager. So we visited today, and I turned the whole deal around. It was a total misunderstanding, and it was on our end because the performance manager is not doing what she needs to be doing, and she's an assistant director for that department, and it is beyond me. Now I'm going to take it with a grain of salt because they say one thing, right, and you can't ever get a hold of like one of these club with all things used cars, right? About vendor dealer relationships. Hell, getting a hold of them is an act of Congress.
They still don't want, to cooperate. Now you're wasting their time.
Yep. So I like to. I don't even know where I don't know now.
You were talking about
your onboarding.
You lost the account and then you got it back because you put simple communication principles.
I'm going to counsel with her boss, and then I'm going to counsel with her, and I'm going to lay out what she's not doing her job.
It's not a knowing; it's a doing.
That's right. She's not. She knows, but we're gonna like with this dealer today. The guy was. I mean, here's what he said. We need to cut expenses. James, the owner, said, go through all your vendors and cut the ones you think that you can cut. We need to cut back a little bit, right? And he knew what he had on his website, but he didn't know really much about how it worked, and all the missed meetings and failed attempts at getting somebody to respond from him to him. And after I showed him what he had, because he didn't even really know what he had. She never showed him because he came aboard about 8 months ago, and it's been going on that long. So he saw this bill, didn't know much about it, and said, "Well, I can cancel this one because there was no skin in the game." He didn't really understand. Now it's like, man, it's going to cost me more if I give this up, and that's
Correct.
how he left the meeting. So I'm going to be very careful in because you mentioned something a little while ago. When you're emotionally upset, emotionally distraught, where you cannot think logically about a situation. You can't be. You have to have some sense of resolve and be together or to be really constructive when you're counseling with another employee or your family or whatever the case may be. All I know is if you're upset, you can't think logically, and the response is usually not going to be very good at all, and it's going to be counterproductive. Does that make sense?
It
Oh
makes
my God,
tremendous sense. Hey,
100%.
we've got our good and great friend Martha. Martha, it's so good to
Martha,
see you.
hello.
We're talking about the problem with lack of retention and not onboarding properly.
Yes.
And by the way, before we jump in with Martha, I was just thinking, it even goes past the salespeople and the managers not maybe being completely honest about their culture. You mentioned Chrysler, Gar. I'm well acquainted, as most of you are, with Lee Iacocca. When he got booted from Ford, which was ridiculous with what he had done, and went to Chrysler, he woke up one morning and what the hell did I get myself into? They had misreported a zillion cars. And how about the nonsense VW went with by overstating some of their facts and figures? So I think we're always back to the same thing. Nobody's got a good enough memory to lie all the time. Being honest is the best way. Learning how to look people in the eye and smell and smile and tell them the truth. Hey, same thing with a manager. A bad manager will be your best friend and let you starve. And a good manager will keep his foot up your butt, but make sure you feed your family. Martha, what are your thoughts here? And so, it's so nice for you to join us.
Thank you guys. Yes, I've been trying to join you guys since 4 o'clock, but I'm at the dealership. So working here and it's culture it's a lot, right? And unfortunately, sometimes what happens is, we want to change the results. We want to change the process, but we don't want to be held accountable, right? And or we just want to hold accountable the ones at the bottom, the salespersons, BDC, but we don't want to. We wanted to hold accountable ourselves, which are the leaders. And the problem is if we don't lead and set the example, nothing is going to change. So it's very hard. Like right now that I was listening to Russell, right, and they go, let's cut everything, or let's start cutting expenses. And we sometimes do that at the dealership without really inspecting and reviewing what is the process that we really have. What is the reason why something is not working? Is it because it's not a good tool, or is it because we haven't taken advantage and we haven't really explained to the people what we're expecting, what are the results that we're expecting from implementing this type of technology or tool that we may be adopting? It's kind of frustrating. I think culture is one of the things that frustrates me the most, especially when you want to work in a certain way and make changes on your teams, but not everybody is on board with those changes and they tell you, yes, we want to change, we want to sell more, but they don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to take responsibility, and they still treating the business like 15 years ago, which is just so outdated. So it's frustrating.
Absolutely.
It's still frustrating.
And Martha, these fools think they can save their way into a profit. It's not about saving. It's about using your money in the most efficient way. Because I think what happened to Russell is more common. They cut it's like they're blindfolded and they're throwing darts, hoping they don't hit somebody. To not know what you're spending in the first place is ridiculous. It's like not knowing the links on your website are broken, but then to randomly cut it is just crazy. But it's kind of funny. We're all very different people, but we all feel the exact same frustration when people advertise one thing and do another with culture or with any other damn thing.
So let me jump on that if I could, Larry. If you're done, Martha, I didn't want to cut you off there.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think it's exactly what you and Peter said. It starts at the hiring process. You are taking a job at a sales-focused organization. It's the job of that person that's interviewing you to sell you on the freaking job. They're supposed to close you, man. And when you say, well, what can I make here? And, the guy says, well, you can make 250 grand because that's what our top salesmen make. He sold 70 cars a month to get that, right? But it's like they're blowing smoke at people because they're trying to close the deal. And it gets down to honesty and transparency. What's realistic? What does the average person make here? I'm not average, but I think we owe it to people that we're hiring to brook no bullshit.
Can I, Jeff? Can I build on what you said? Um, it, I, Rhonda is probably bored seeing me by now, and Peter made the trek all the way from Canada. He had another mission, but he came to see me. And believe it or not, guys, ladies, I go about 3 hours, sometimes 3.5, and nobody's bored. And people think that I'm good and successful because I'm crazy and I'm very verbal. It's not that. It's that I'm consistent with the basics. I just had a young lady. This is not a negative story. It's just the truth. I had a young lady who cut work twice, Martha, twice. She was worried about getting fired, but she said, "You impressed me on the interview. I think you're sincere and I love your energy." She came twice and they didn't hire her. I called another dealer. She's hired already. I'm not bragging. How hard was it to pick up the damn phone? But I'm telling you, some of these managers, and it's not just in the car business, it's in our world, in 2 seconds, the thought is out of their head. I think everything we do, every industry, if we were just a little more focused on doing things the right way and being more meticulous, Martha, I'm going to sound like I'm 100 years old. I am so locked in on a pen and pad and paper. And people laugh at me. Yeah, you're this and that. But guess what? The people around me are imbeciles. I literally get 500 to 1,000 emails a day. I'm not bragging. I'm in hundreds of dealers, thank God. But almost every person that calls me, I swear to you folks, I say, "Oh, great. What job are you calling on?" Hold on. Because it doesn't occur to them to write down so-and-so motors, sales, or in a million years, I would never call anybody. I mean, anybody that's hung with me for 3 seconds. Martha, we escorted a drunk April Simmons back to our hotel, and you saw me pulling shit out of my pocket, writing notes. If you're not meticulous with follow-up, some of these managers use the excuse, "I'm not beating anybody up," how busy they are. It's not that they're busy, it's they're inefficient in how they use their time. So people start falling through the cracks, things that needed to be done. And again, I don't want to make it sound so elemental, but I think if we just did what we were supposed to do when we were supposed to do it, if we acted like every customer costs us $450, if the 119,000, Peter, if we could convince people that it's not coming out of the owner's going to charge you, I bet you they'd spend more time with the people. Just
Larry,
like if we convince, yep.
I'll make you feel better about taking notes and
A
paper.
pencil sharpener.
I bought a new pencil sharpener today from Amazon.
Is
Are
that
you
why
busy
you're
later,
penciling
Martha?
deals?
Wait a minute, Peter. Are you busy later, Martha? We're going to get Jeff drunk, and he's going to show us his abacus and his sundial. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
You
Nice
know,
pencil.
No, Jeff bought it so he could say he's penciling deals.
That's
yes,
right.
there you go. There you go. You,
Hey,
you
can
don't
I
know that.
go?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that when we're talking about employee retention and when you're talking about the interviewing process, right? And we sell the position. You know what? I always tell managers, we got to assume our responsibility for the success of the failure of the people that we hire because how many times we sell that story? Yes, you're going to make all of this money. You're going to do, and maybe it is possible, right? The top performers sometimes are doing it, but then we don't take the time to really provide all of the tools and all the onboarding that they really need to be successful. You know, it really bothers me. It bothers me to, I don't know, to the core of my soul when we hire new salespeople and the first day they throw them on the floor, right? And then sometimes they tell me, well, they're experienced salespeople. They're experienced salespeople. Maybe they've been selling cars for many, many years, but they don't know our dealership. They don't know our process. They don't know, maybe they do know
Yeah.
the product. Sometimes they don't even know the product. And it's like, we have expectations for from the people that we work with, but we never really explain to them what is expected from them and why.
Experience bad habits. That's what they have.
Let me ask you this, Martha.
Wait a minute. We're talking about, Peter and I always talk about onboarding. Peter is a whiz at this. And like I said, he's best buddies as I am with Zach McVicker onboarding him. But how about the follow-up aspect of it? How about
What's
the fact
that?
that, okay, you've onboarded them perfectly. Exactly. You've onboarded them perfectly. You know, Russell, you've heard me say it before. The John Wooden and Bill Walton and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar thing, that when you get in a slump, you go back to the basics. I've seen, and everybody on this damn panel has seen, people that were on a spectacular track fall off. Why did they fall off? Because it's not enough to point somebody in the right direction. You have to help them stay in the right direction.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are or what you are. We're all under pressure, financial, physical, family stuff, and it's very easy to get off track. So it's not just, not only does it not start right sometimes, Martha, sometimes even if it starts great, if you don't follow up properly, because as things change, you need to change.
Hey, and another thing, managers will come up and say, well, why are you taking my salesperson or my BDC out of the floor? I need them. And I'll go like, why you don't want them to go to training? I said, why it's training?
Right. They don't want to train them.
Why we oppose training so much? Why the half an hour, an hour, or the half of a day they have to go and spend on training? They don't want it. But you know what? At the end of the month, when that salesperson is underperforming, then the first thing that they wanted to do is, let's start writing them up and get rid of them. But what we have done to provide what they need. Now, it's very different when you put them through the onboarding, when you train them constantly and they still they're not successful, right? At that point, it's a different level. But it surprised me how many times I hear, nope, you know what? Why do you need to train them? I'm like,
can I jump back in and make?
Go ahead.
I keep going back to 40 years ago when I was working at a Chrysler dealer, and we were told we had to become a 5-star dealer.
I remember that. Yeah.
And everybody was given homework, and everybody had to write down what the processes were in their departments. And then we had to send a report to somebody that they could approve it. And that's when I learned the business and what it taught, that there's accountability, just like we're all talking about right here, in every place, right down to the lot person. How do you roadmap the sale? When a customer calls in, here's the process. When they come in, here's the process. We have a trade now. Well, we have to appraise it. So we had to have a process for everything that ran in the dealership. Why do we not do that today?
It's called, it's not, Garrett, it's not fair. Back when you and Russell were training, you couldn't look on your phone and see porno and cats playing the piano. No, we're in a much more distracted society.
But the process of selling a car today has not changed one bit. You need to shake the hand of the consumer that's buying the car from the salesperson, and the dealer needs to make it a wonderful level playing field where the customer feels empowered and the salespeople feel empowered, and it's a perfect scenario. And there are some dealers that have mastered that. The rest are still trying to figure out from 40 years ago, and they all think that they can hire people with wonderful reputations, and somebody who's really, really pretty and their hair is in the right place is going to change the world. But when those people leave the dealerships, a lot of the people go right back to the chaos that's ensuing. You do it right. Customers want to get information. You want to run their credit when it's the right time, when you need to give payments. It's called organization. It's called dealership. You don't go to buy a car in the parts department, but you need your parts to handle the fixing of the cars. We've lost the 70s, and we're all saying the same thing. And unfortunately, we're all need the owners and the people running their dealerships to start to listen. And that'll make life easier for everybody to use their wares. It's a simple sale process. We just screw it up all the time because no one is doing what their task is, their responsibility. So, but it just, I need order. I need organization for me to accomplish. I would think everybody's no different than me. And when you walk into chaos, and then especially on a Saturday, and you want to get a car appraised and there's no process and you're 6 deep, I don't want to buy a car from that place. I don't want to work in that place. So it's all about everything that everybody's saying. There's a process for everything. And if you
Gary,
don't,
Gary, one other thing to dovetail on what you were talking about, there's one negative that has really changed in 40 years. We're worse listeners than we used to be.
Yes.
We're much worse.
I'm sorry, say what?
Conversation. Yeah, exactly right. Because of the iPhones, because of social media, because of the lack of attention span. I always compliment Russell Hill because over his right shoulder, he's got my favorite Beatle. I always acknowledge McCartney is the most talented of all the Beatles. You can't argue it. Best instrumentalist, but Lennon's my favorite. Okay. There's no question who he is, what he is, how he is, and all that stuff.
Go ahead.
What's that?
No, I was going to say something about that. Gary said that is very important. That is, the road has not changed, right? The only thing that has changed is how we get there. The road should still be the same, and that's what we don't understand it.
But
it's like,
Martha, that's what we're saying as far as the listening. He's got Lennon over his shoulder. You're way too young and pretty to possibly remember. We had a guy that's now revitalizing his career because of a movie named Bob Dylan, and we had an unbelievable singer when I was young named Janis Joplin. Neither one of them would be famous now because Dylan had the world's strangest voice, and Janis Joplin was not gorgeous. You would never mistake her for Rihanna, okay, or Britney Spears.
No doubt.
But you watch them perform, and for 2 hours, they sang and they played. Nothing blew up. There was no video screens. Our attention spans are so short now, and our methods of communicating are so awkward that it's there. Martha, I met you on a podcast, and we became friends. Then I had the pleasure. Peter was everybody's chauffeur at NADA, and it's the first chance we got to hang. We talked. We got to know each other. Me and Peter met at NADA. Man, we talk. I got a pleasure of Gary Larkin coming up with Gary and Mike Larkin coming up to film when me and Rhonda were shooting. We talked. We communicated. What would have happened, Gary, if you came up and Mike Larkin said, "I want you to meet Feldman," and the whole time I ignored you and I was looking at my phone? You'd say this guy's a jackass. So, yeah, the process is the same, Martha, but we're more screwed up. I always say it, everybody laughs at me. You go to a restaurant these days, you see 4 people all on their iPhones instead of talking to each other. It's all about community. This is why 30 years ago, who was the best salesperson? The same one that is now. The guy that was lady was likable, that was in the community, that
sat in the first desk, and they were the lead. They took care of everybody. But the dealer would allow them the autonomy, but they wouldn't with the rest of the people. And so today you have to create a warm environment for everybody, and that's where we got to get rid of a lot of the old school.
Wait a minute. The problem you're going to have, I'm quoting Peter Smith. Is it okay if I quote Peter?
Oh, right.
And then we'll get to Russell. One of the problems that Peter has pointed out very acutely, I'll be short, Russ, I promise.
Oh, you're fine.
We're on a 30-day cycle. So it's nice that they're trying to build a culture, but if the dealer's squeezing them and they're feeling squeezed, who the hell are they going to squeeze but the people under them? Yeah. Go ahead, Russ. And then, hey, I don't want to squeeze out Mike Larkin. Sometimes we have so much fun we forget. After Russell,
I appreciate that, and I don't want to take that from Mike. Mike, if you please go ahead.
Oh, Russell, going after you. I mean, it's a hard task. Instead of for the future, okay, and a solution is putting the pencil away. Leaders, owners, upper management, take the time to answer the 9 questions that will solidify and define your brand. When I ask car dealers, what's your brand? Oh, I sell Toyotas. That's not your brand. Your brand is your core mission, vision, values. That's your core business, your business strengths, your competitors, your audience, your key differentiators. That's ignored. And your business persona, your personality. Okay, your brand story. Where do you come from? And your messaging. Is it positive, negative, whatever the case may be? But have that written in pen so that all your people below you can follow you. They've got nobody to follow them. Okay. And that's I think it's a shoot themselves in the foot kind of leadership. That's
Has
all.
everybody noticed that Mike Larkin tonight was particularly strong and striding clear?
Yep.
And I think it was because of Peter Smith mentioning pizza. I think we figured out the trigger point.
No, you got me hungry.
Well,
Have a
Russell said you
Snickers.
got to be hungry. Peter, go ahead, man. Let's your all your stuff is turning out to be true. Let's hear from you, my buddy.
Well, first of all, Mike, have a Snickers. You're hungry.
Snickers doesn't have cheese on it.
Where they come from?
So the whole thing about onboarding and one of the biggest misconceptions that we have is it happens in a day or a couple of days or even a week at a dealership or an employment, and that's a huge misconception. An onboarding platform is actually anywhere from 6 to 24 months. And most dealerships say, I can't invest in that. No company invests in that. Well, yeah, go to any Fortune 500 company. They all do it. They all do it. Why did they get to Fortune 500 companies? Because they do it. The next thing is when you take a group, let's and Russell, you're intimate with Group 1 right now. So in saying that, they have 153 stores.
Yes.
Something to that number.
Yes.
153 stores. They're doing at 153 stores. They're doing about $5 billion in revenue a year. They probably have somewhere between 5 and 10,000 employees.
Yeah, they got another 160 overseas, so they got well over 300 stores. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just missed it. Group 1?
In doing that, they're looking their onboarding costs are super significant, but I guarantee even them at a $5 billion plus revenue company, they're not doing the job.
No, I can already tell you they're not, but they are all about control because they're. I mean, when you have the highest stock price of any publicly held company out there, you're doing something right. But yeah, they lack there though. I can tell you.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and this is something I've said many times. Whether you're $1, $100, $1,000, $1 million in positive, in the profit, you're in the black. So it doesn't matter when you go to a dealer and you say, hey, you could make more money, but I'm in the black. I'm okay. Well, are you actually running at efficiency? Are you actually running at capacity? Are you running at a truly profitable bit? Don't care. I'm in the black.
No, yeah, that's wrong. That's the wrong mentality right there.
Yeah, I don't care because I don't have to worry about the guy that's above me coming back down to me and saying, you're not profitable. And I don't have to worry about the guys below me because I don't have to change. I'm in a great situation. Well, when times pivot and times do change, you see, and I had this conversation with Bob Manor, and I had it with another gentleman. I said, let's look at LinkedIn. We're all on LinkedIn. We all live by LinkedIn. When do the green pucks come out? The green pucks come out in right about just after Thanksgiving, because at that point in time they just can't hold on anymore. So the dealership gets rid of them. Then they go out and they hire someone brand new for January 1, and they put them on a 90-day probation, and we see the green pucks show up again in March and in April, and then they disappear all the way to October, November, because at that point they've gone too far that they don't want to change again. But this is the perpetual motion that dealers put themselves in every single year, and because they put unrealistic values and on what the expectations will be. And Brad Wise said it best the other day. He inherited a Chevy Mazda store that was so broken that would take an individual 3 years to fix it. And they had gone through so many general managers, and he said, "I'll take it on as a passion project, but it's going to take 3 years. Do not expect anything less. I want that in writing." And that's the only reason
I remember that.
it's still there.
Not all the details, but I remember that. Yeah.
You cannot, but dealers, like everyone else, wants instantaneous gratification. I want to hire someone. I want to hire Mike Larkin to sell Toyotas for me, and I want him doing 20 cars this month.
Oh boy, you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah. And in this month, I want 20 cars from him. And how he's going to do it, he's going to make 75 phone calls a day. He's going to make 75 emails. He's going to make 75 text messages. And he's going to do 10 videos and 10 social posts. And that's going to get him 4 appointments. And he's going to close that at 20%. And it'll get him to 15 cars a month. And with any luck, he'll get to 20. That's what dealers look at, and they don't understand how unrealistic that is, and how that is just a churn and burn, and we're going to pay huge for it. Now, let me ask you, the panel here. A dealership knows exactly. A dealer knows exactly what the acquisition cost of a client is. They know it. They know it inside and out. Now, what's the retention cost of a client? Good luck in finding that number.
Right.
It's not on their financial statement.
It's not on their financial statement. The acquisition cost is, because
they can get that number, but they can't get the money that they didn't get. Right. They have that number.
Yeah. So if we look at it and we say, if your onboarding cost is not on your financial statement, but we do know. Good night, Russell.
Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye. Peace and blessings.
Night, Russell.
So they just don't look at the numbers that operate a business. They look at the numbers that operate a car lot. And that's how they operate their
They've been doing it that way for 30 years.
Yep. Oh, they've been doing it for longer than that.
Well, I only been around that time that I can remember what they've been doing it, but that's what they've been doing. Yeah.
43 years for me, and it was long since before that.
Yeah, no, I know.
And the crazy thing, Gary, is they don't want to change.
Yeah, no, they don't. They want the pixie dust. They want somebody to have some magic wand that's got some AI service that's going to make everybody a bazillionaire, and they just expect that they're going to click their heels. It ain't the road to Toto anymore. You got to work.
No.
And that's what. And you got to find vendors who you trust that can train your people, that your people can get better with the tools that you bring in. And that should be easy. It's just them looking in the mirror and finally agreeing that it's time. Maybe their children or their grandchildren will take these tasks. That's what I'm hoping for. So
and that's the main challenge. We're sitting there and saying, when is it going to change? Because it's got to change somewhere. Because
it's changed. It's changed. It's just what it's going to look like on the other side now.
Yeah, I can concur with that. We've
Yeah.
seen change.
Oh, it's the last 5 years we saw more change than we did in the last 30 years. And we've had a lot of change. So it's like every day we wake up and there's something new on the horizon. Whoever thought that we were going to be watching the government control tariffs and how we operate? We just want to sell cars. Give us cars, let us sell, let the people get their kids to school and work and stop messing with us. So,
Hey, I think we should end it. I don't think you're going to hear anything better than what Gary just said. All we want to do is sell. Leave us the hell alone. Anybody have any other thoughts? If not, man, thank you all so much for joining us. Yes, Peter.
I have two thoughts that I'd like to add. First is that tomorrow night I have a really exciting clubhouse room. I have Brian Ortega and Nathan Greklick.
those guys are funny as hell. Oh my God.
Yeah.
They are just absolutely amazing creative directors for two fantastic dealers. And I have a young lady who's just joining in that space into our marketplace. And I'm hoping that they can give her some pointers on the call and give her some ideas. And the topic is going to be leveraging social media for customer lead generation and customer engagement. And I can't think of two better people to have on it. So that's tomorrow night at 8 p.m. But I want to end on this, and I should have started the room on it. On the 28th, we lost an icon in this industry. Jim Ziegler, a friend of mine. I've known him for 27 years. Passed away from cancer. Had a hard-fought battle with a terminal cancer, and he beat it. And then just recently, after finally beating all the cancers and getting his life back into the groove of who he was, got cancer again, and unfortunately succumbed to it on the 28th. It was a great friend and mentor to April Simmons, a close friend of ours, and a number of other people that we've all known. And he was instrumental in a lot of things I've done in my career. He was actually one of the first people I sold the car to in the United States. So I remember Jim well. I wanted to give him a little accolade on this. I will be doing one tomorrow night as well. But I just wanted to thank everyone, and I appreciate everyone that I've ever met in this industry, and I want you to know that it's things like Jim's passing brings it out. So I appreciate everyone. Thank you for joining us. Larry, I appreciate you tremendously. Rhonda, thank you. Mike, you don't know what pizza is all about, but that's okay. You guys from Connecticut.
We're back to that.
Yeah, I think
Park
that's where
Lane
pizza
pizza
was invented. But it was in a little place called
we need
Napoli.
our pizza and our basketball. We're okay in the
Yeah, buddy.
You mean that Canadian game, right?
Here we go again.
There we go again.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Rest
Good
in
night,
peace,
everybody.
Mr.
Thank
Ziegler.
you
Yeah,
all for
later.
coming.
Everybody else,
Good
stay
night,
healthy. We'll see
everybody.
you
Good
next
night,
week.
Rhonda.
Good night.
Take
Good
care.
night, Martha.
Good night.
Good night.